Well, here we are. It's Friday. What's the date? November 11th, 2022, and this is the weekly video. We're going to go over and have a look at see what the auction results have been around a few places during the last week. As many of you know, we did a video yesterday on the sale that took place in London and the Paris sales at Sotheby's, and there was some interesting results. Good, still getting strong prices. It was very good to see. I know a lot of you are wondering, but I think there are some relative bargains out there too, and we saw a few of them go through on the global pages this week. I mean, one of them was a major bargain, and I hope one of you got it. I had inquiries about it from a few people because there was an auction that took place, and I'll explain to it when we get to it. But they mislabeled something by a mile, and the lot went for nothing practically. But we'll get to that in a second. We also have been doing some shorts this week, and we did another one today on the Langshan quarry in China, which is a fascinating story about the stones there. And check it out. Check it out. It's on the shorts page. If you don't know where the shorts are, incidentally, this is something they've just added fairly recently. If you go to my YouTube page, hold on a second. We'll whip through it. Because a lot of people didn't know they're doing this. Hold on a second. On the landing page, if you go to the site where YouTube keeps us, if it'll load, this has been happening a lot today. I don't know why. There we go. There's a new category here for shorts. All right, because for a while they were dumping them and mixing them into all the other listings, and what they've done is they've segregated them now. So there's a separate shorts category. Which I think is a great idea. And as you can see, we've done a number of them in the last couple of weeks. We're trying it for a month, see how it goes. But at any rate, have a look at some of them if you want. And the regular videos, of course, are over where they've always been, right on the homepage. All right, now let's get back to the auction results. What's been going on? Let's close that up. That annoying sound. There we go. There we go. Right there. This was a plate that was sold at Tenmuku had this down in Fairfield, New Jersey, and I had a bunch of inquiries about it. This is a plate I noticed myself. I thought it was awfully attractive. It's a 19th century piece of Canton ware, Qing ware. But very interestingly decorated with the sun coming in above and this profusion of flowers and insects and birds and all kinds of stuff going on. And it's interesting because it had no border decoration. So the artist was able to treat the whole plate, the face of the plate, like a charger, like a canvas. And this was not a small dish. This was a good sized piece of porcelain. What was it? 13 and a half inches in diameter. So technically it's a charger by a bit. And I thought it was a wonderful thing. Very unusual. Very, very unusual. And I thought the estimate was reasonable. And I told a few of you, those of you who are watching that saw it, I said, leave $500 or $600 on it at least, because you want to get this thing. And somebody picked it up, and I hope it was one of you. Picked it up for $450, below the low estimate, but with the buyer's premium, you're sort of up around the $550, $600 range. But an absolutely great piece of export ware. Really was. Made probably around 1840 to 1860. Nicely done piece. And this was over at the Druids Donington Priory sale in the UK. They finished up just yesterday. It was going on. I was watching some of it. The results were pretty good. This was a nice lot, though. This was a good lot. This was a pair of large late 17th century Japanese Amari jars with covers. The covers had I guess a little bit of repair to them here and there, which is not unusual. The way they would perch these Fu lions on top, they were very prone to breakage. But these were nice old ones, and they were fairly big, as I recall. I think they were like 19 inches in height, something like that. There was a measurement on here. Hold on a second. There was a measurement somewhere. Anyway, I believe they were 19 inches tall, and the pair went for £2,200 plus the premium. So it'll come in at they'd come in at around $3,200. But these were good looking. These were nice classic Japanese Amari made right around 1690 to 1720, somewhere in there, late 17th, very early 18th century. But these had exceptionally well done foo lines on them. Sometimes they just put a foo line up there and it's not all that interesting. These were beautifully rendered, really well rendered. And the colors look good. There were minor little repairs. There's the top of the jar. There's the foot rims. Very classic looking Japanese Amari. So go over and check them out if you didn't get them. They were estimated at $2,500 to $3,500, which I thought was pretty reasonable. I noticed Druids is pretty reasonable at their estimates. They don't kill their stuff, as they say, and I don't think they take big reserves. So keep that in mind. And then they sold this, a large Japanese Arita charger. It was either late Edo or early Meiji period, probably late Edo, I guess. But nicely decorated. It's tipped a little bit here in the picture. It's not quite straight, but at any rate, you got the carp leaping through the waves and all this activity going on, and a nice use of application of negative space, and then these trigrams added just for fun. There it is. Is there a little underglaze red in there? Yeah, there is. There's actually sort of a pinkish underglaze red that's been shaded into the blue. That's interesting. And then all those little spur marks all at the back, and then the typical mark that they used. And this went reasonably, and this was a big piece of porcelain. It was 51 centimeters in diameter. They misdated it. They said circa 1700. This wasn't circa 1700. This was made probably around 1830 to 1860, somewhere in there. But at any rate, it was a nice looking dish, 51 centimeters in diameter, which was a pretty big plate. If you do the calculation on it, 45 centimeters brings you in at 18 inches. So this thing was around 21 or so inches in diameter, which would be very unusual for a circa 1700 piece of Amari, but very typical on the larger end for early 19th century, mid 19th century wares. But this was a nice looking piece of porcelain, and I think the price was absolute steal. I think that was a great buy, and the estimate wasn't unreasonable, 400 to 600 euros. It went well under that. The hammer on it was 445 plus the premium. So, well, you're up around 600, I guess, by the time you're done with the premium. Still worth it. The only difficulty with these, of course, is a very large piece of porcelain is the shipping. I always say, if you're going to be buying overseas, call them up and find out if they do their own shipping and get a feeling from them on what their rates are, or email them on a specific lot and ask them up front, what's it going to, if you do your own shipping, what are you going to charge to ship? All right. And they can tell you, they'll tell you. Companies abroad that sell to the U.S. online that don't do their own shipping really shoot themselves in the foot because it scares people half to death, especially buying out of France and sometimes up in the Netherlands, because the shippers there are predatory. I'll just say it; they're just plain predatory. They know they got you, and they're gonna charge you. In some cases. But if they do their own, they tend to be pretty reasonable. So keep that in mind. Then there was this really great, I pointed this out on the Global Member video for those pages a few weeks ago, was this platter. I thought this was a great piece of 18th century export ware with the men on the docks and the textile merchant over here. Very unusual plate with a crest of the armorial scene sort of here and this nice border. I thought this was a terrific plate, very nicely painted. Really interestingly painted, and it brought a good price. It was estimated 1,000 to 1,500 pounds, which I think was perfectly fine. And in the end, it ended up going for 1,600 pounds plus the premium, so 1,875, about $2,500, $2,400, something like that. But a rare piece of porcelain, really was, really rare, very unusual. And I love the textile merchants on there. I thought that was great. And then this was a sort of a bargain at Druids. This was a Yongchen period teapot with all that relief work that we've seen on many other examples over the years. I think there were a couple of little nicks out of it. But this was a nice example. And in the past, we've seen pieces like this sell for these pots, even though it doesn't have its under tray, because it would have an under tray that would be similarly decorated most of the time. That's what they had originally. But they sell for $1,600 to $2,500. But the teapots without the under tray typically sell for around $800 or $900 or $1,000. And I think this was a bargain. Went for $492 US, which was a great buy. I think it was about $300 under the money. So somebody, leave a bid. That's all I can tell you. I was half thinking of doing a video at some point on like going to one of the major auction houses and going through their lists and how to strategize on how to leave bids and where to leave them and what kind of money do you want to put on them and why and get, sort of help, because I think some folks are a little hesitant to buy at Sotheby's, Christie's, and Bonhams because they're big and they have sort of an intimidating reputation. They're a bunch of marshmallows. They want your business. Even though they act like they may seem like they're indifferent to you at times, they really want you to do business with them, and they're actually very, very nice when you get to talk to them. But the image, I think, sometimes scares people off, and that's their problem. They created an image that intimidates a lot of people, and I know people that are very well off, could easily shop there every day of the week, and they don't because they feel like these auction houses look down on them, and they shouldn't. They really don't. But anyway, that's another story. So maybe we'll do a video on that at some point. All right, and then on some more here was this pair of jars, dragon jars. These were both 18th century jars. These were good jars. They measured a little over what are they, about 9 inches tall each, nicely done. One of them looks like it might be transitional. I can't tell which jar they were showing the bottom of because they both have very similar bases. But one of them has a flat bottom and looks very transitional, or early Kangxi maybe. But it may be this one. But anyway, these are nice jars. These were nice jars. It wasn't a pair, but they're very similarly decorated with the dragon chasing the pearl. And I'm going to bet they came from the same collector because that's what he collects. And these were nice, and I like the long neck, unglazed paste necks on this one. And somebody picked them both up for the hammer price on them was $1,992. And those were nice. Those are good-looking jars, and they look to be in very good condition, which is, of course, very important to some people. And then over here to this lotus bowl, Kangxi period with the Chedwa mark on the bottom. And I think this was a very good buy. A number of these have come on the market lately. A couple of them had Kangxi marks, and they brought $10,000, $15,000 in this pattern. These didn't have the Kangxi mark, but it's the same bowl. They at the time used to put Chedwa marks on them because they thought at times it was more desirable because it was an older period mark. So that's sort of the psychology of it. But at any rate, it sold for $3,500 US. Not bad. I think that was a good buy. That was a very attractive bowl. And we've all seen this same pattern done on chargers, which are quite common. But on these bowls, they're a little bit more unusual. So I think it did well. And then there was this. This was on the global video. We were talking to the global members a couple of weeks ago about this. You don't see Korean rank badges very often. They just don't come up. Certain things from Korea do, but Korea, you have to remember, is a much smaller population, and they've had a lot of difficulties over the years, and a lot of disruptions. And it's of course much smaller in population and in size than some of their neighbors, or both. But there was this nice pair of attractive Korean rank badges, probably 19th century, but beautifully done. Very, very, I love how they do leopards. It's very cool. The Japanese do them sort of the same way, too. And then they put these sort of Chinese clouds in there. But these was a nice pair of badges, mid to late 19th century, most likely. And they ended up selling for $2,110. And that's largely because there aren't that many, you don't see Korean rank badges that often. And when you do, they're generally wrecks. These weren't wrecks. These were good looking. All right, and then over to this, the Kosometsuki plate, the Watsukai plate. I had more inquiries about this plate than almost anything. And through the identification assistant thing, people wanting to know what I thought of it. And I told them I loved it, and get ready to spend $1,000. Forget the estimate. It's an absolutely wonderful plate with this diaper pattern all over it, and the scales, and nice brown dress rim and everything. If you like these kinds of wares, that was a good one. And ended up selling. It had a $300 to $500 pound estimate, which was arbitrarily sort of very low. It ended up going for $1,113 plus the premium, so it was all in at about $1,400 or so with the buyer's premium. But it was a wonderful example. It was a stellar example. Very, very nice. Late Ming Dynasty to maybe possibly early Joseon period. They sort of hedged on the dating of that a little bit, which is understandable. Let's see here. and this one, the cloisonne square Kong form vase. They has a Chin Lung mark on the bottom of it. It's not Chin Lung. That's an apocryphal mark in my opinion, but it was a beautifully done vase. It looks to me to be a 19th century example, maybe Jiajing period or something like that, but very well done, nicely worked. And this form is very desirable. If it was Chin Lung, it would be very, very desirable. And has these buildings and landscape scenes running all over it on all panels. Very attractive, and the gilding is still on the bronze that was built from, and it's very, very nice. This was not a copper-based vase, I don't believe. Sure looks like bronze, nice, thick, strong, nicely done. And then the robe, this took off. This absolutely took off. As many of you know, this is an Imperial yellow robe. This is a 19th century robe, meticulously finely worked across the bottom, the wave pattern. The dragons are beautifully done. This was a corker of a robe. There you go. I don't know how much of the close-up they give you, but there it is. You notice how well done the dragons are in the little areas, and they even added a wave pattern here, and the dragons going around the collar and up across, and then down the closure side, closure flap, and you have these beautifully worked. You probably have a few loose gold threads on here. There always is, and often you can tuck them back in, get them back into position. They've just slipped out a little bit over time, which is not a big deal. But this was a very, very nice robe. Tiny stain on the sleeve, little red stain there. But look at the cuffs. Look at the way they finished off those cuffs. Whoa. And yeah, it could be a Daoguan period robe. At any rate, everybody seemed to like it a real lot. And how did they date it? Did they even date it? Shifu robe, early 19th century. Okay, so they're saying first half of the 19th century, which is probably Daoguan. It was estimated at 15 to 20,000 pounds. Went well through that. Ended up going for 49,000 pounds plus premium. So you're up around $65,000-$70,000 for this. But this was an Imperial robe. It's a dragon robe, had everything going for it, and it was in good condition, and that's what they're worth. That's what they're worth. And I think that's about what they're getting at the major auction houses, too. So, once again, whether you sell it at a major auction house or you sell it at a good, slightly smaller auction house that has good advertising and internet abilities, you're going to get the same money, ultimately. We've seen it many, many, many times. And then the throne seat cushion. This went for $9,000, but this was a really nice one. They dated a Daoguan to Shanfan period, and I think that's probably right. Mid-19th century, call it that. But beautifully done, beautiful yellow, and it looked like it was in fantastic condition. It looks like it's in fantastic shape all the way around. The lotus blossoms look nice, soft palette. The violet is still there. That hasn't faded. That's a color that fades really easily. And so are these sort of pink apricots. And I don't see a lot of fading. This thing has been in a box somewhere. It's been very well maintained and kept for a long time. Look at see the colors are all nice and crisp still. That's important when you get into something older. Because they often aren't. They're faded, they have water stains all over them and all that. This was very, very nice. And it was estimated at $4,000 to $6,000 and went for $9,000 plus premium. So about $14,000, $14,000 by the time you're all done with that. But if you're a silk collector, you know what that is. And that's a rare bird to be, especially in such good condition. And then this is a Cantonese enamel dish. They dated tentatively as 18th to early 19th century. How big is this? Was a pretty good size one, as I recall. I think it was like 18 inches in diameter or something. 30 centimeters. There it goes, a foot wide, 12 inches in diameter. Okay. Let's have a look at it. I like the way they did the roof. That's interesting. This is pretty. The color palette's nice soft palette. I didn't look at it too carefully before. I just looked good to me. Here's the back of it. Yeah, I think it's more likely early 19th century, but it's an awfully nice example. And there's only a few little chips out of the enameling on the back, which is very, very common. Those of you that have these know that these are painted on copper, and copper is one of the softest metals on the planet. Not an ideal surface to paint on, because they bend and you so much as flex this plate a little bit, and enamels are going to start popping off of it all over the place. Because they're so thinly made. This pieces, and that's why there aren't a lot of good ones around. They made a lot of them, but a lot of them didn't survive. They get too close to the stove too many times, and that'll do it too. The heating and contraction of them. People used to eat off these, but this was a nice one, and it did well. It brought 2,000 pounds, about $3,000, all said and done. But a good example, nice and clean, early 19th century, and where did the bidding start on this? What, $500 or something? $480. There you go. 480 euros. The bidding started at 500. Yes, but it was a good look. It was a nice piece of Cantonese. This was the bargain of the month. They erroneously titled these, and I think it scared people. Export paintings of junks, Qing Dynasty, on pith paper. All right, pith paper is that fibrous material. It's actually not paper at all. It's actually the fiber of a tree that they slice out of the tree, and it slices out in these white sheets. It's very, very thin. It almost has the texture of like a sheet of foam rubber or something like that. It's very brittle. This isn't on pith paper. These paintings are on watercolor paper. These are watercolors on paper, probably English paper, and they were probably painted around 1810 to 1820, not 1850. These were great, and if you look at them, you don't see any of the stuff that you see on pith. The texture doesn't look the same as pith. If these are pith paintings, they're the finest pith paintings that have ever been done. That looks like English paper to me. That looks like regular paper to me. I see even a tiny bit of foxing up in here. You don't usually see much foxing on pith. So in my opinion, these look certainly to be on. I told a couple people that asked about them. I guess they chickened out, but or maybe they got them. Maybe they got them for the $1,000, but $1,000 framed. I can't emphasize that enough because these are on nice frames with French mats. These are handmade mats. They're beautifully done, and they have a little bit of wear to them, so they go with the paintings. They look nice, and you basically didn't even pay for the frames. Whoever got them, if one of you out there got them, bravo, good going. And these were decent size, 30 centimeters by 39 centimeters, so they were about a foot tall and 16 or so inches wide. Nice sizes. They were estimated at 1,000 to 1,500, which I thought was, well, it's reasonable for pith, very low for paper. And these were, in my opinion, absolutely on paper. They should have brought pretty comfortably $500 to $700 each. So somebody got a great buy. I really like those, and it's a set of junks, which is nice in sand pans because you don't often see many of them. I own a few of these. A couple of these very similar frame, but I don't have 6 of them. I have 2 or 3. But at any rate, I like them very much because we live on the ocean, and it's nice to have boat pictures around your house if you live near the ocean. And if you move away from the ocean, take them with you so you feel like you're back where you were. All right. Now, anyway, these are very, very nice paintings. Very, very nice export paintings. Beautiful quality and old frames. And then this was a nice Qing punch bowl, 18th century bowl. Let's see here. Qinlong period, question mark. So they weren't sure, I guess. I don't know why. And this bowl was about 15 inches in diameter. It was a good size bowl. Very nicely decorated. And the gilding was all in good shape. If you look under the inside, the bamboo trees and all that, you'll see the gilding is still hanging in there nicely. And there's the side of it, and there's all the lattice patterns and so forth that they put in. Here's the interior, pretty simply decorated. They often are, but the outside of it was nicely decorated, very, very elaborately done. And I like there's a good yellow in there, and then you have all this fill-in. And notice the gilding again, all in beautiful condition. All of it's in beautiful condition, and it went for just $2,000, which is a good buy. This was almost a 15-inch bowl. So that was a very reasonable price, very reasonable. All right, now, and it wasn't damaged. Now this thing had a hairline in it somewhere. I couldn't see it, but I had talked about this on the global page because I thought this was one of the most interesting garden barrels I'd seen in a while. It had some wear around the bottom to some of the enamels, But to see these Mandarin type sort of battle scenes in the round and people with carts, it looks like almost like they're heading off to some sort of a party or something. And there are the cash symbols, and there's a sampan down here, and this very attractive blue-green and so forth, and then this very intense gold cap on it up here, up top, above the bosses coming off the body, these round things. I think this was a really nice garden barrel, and the price was shocking how little it brought. Absolutely shocking. Again, it was a very good buy. It doesn't, whatever the hairline, the line in it didn't seem to be that severe. And somebody picked it up for $938 plus premium, so they're in it for about $1,300. And the garden barrels of this quality usually go for $2,500 to $3,500 pretty comfortably. So I think that was a very, very good buy. The only hassle with garden barrels is that they're very big and heavy, and if you're getting it shipped from England to another country, it could get expensive. I will say that. But very nicely done, nice enamels, an unusual color palette, not the standard sort of factory output. And then this was this was at Druids too. This was a really nifty bargain. I wanted to show that this is why you want to leave bids. This was a nice 18th century Chinese export memorial with three cows on it. I don't know whose crest that is. Percillo et labore. Well, you'd have to look that up. You get out your translations. But nice export mug, circa 1775, 1780, somewhere around there. Looked like it was in pretty good shape. I think there was a frit somewhere on the handle, but who cares? Somebody picked it up for $82 plus the premium. This was a nice example. That was a really nice example, and it measured about 5 or 6 inches tall. Pretty standard size, but $82. When was the last time a good piece of you can buy things reasonably if you fish, if you go fishing, and there are ways to do it. Well, I think we'll do a video on that. That's a good idea. I think that's a good idea. All right, and then this is my favorite piece of crackware I've seen in a while. It has a horse on it. You don't see crackware with horses on them very often. It's a pretty unusual thing. They have it dated as Chunzen era or transitional. I don't think it is. I think it's Wan Li, but I think it's older than that. But this was a very interesting plate with the pony on it. It's not even a horse. It's a pony. Makes it even cuter. God, very nicely done. Looked like it was in good shape. It wasn't an enormous piece. I think it was 10 or 11 inches in diameter, but unusual pattern. We've seen them with lots of, with grasshoppers and birds and even rabbits at times, but horses you don't see very often. It was, how big was this? It was small. It was 6.5 inches in diameter, but a rare little dish. Really was. That's a nifty thing. Nifty. And then over to this, the Kakyeamon patterned, it's Chinese, but Kakyeamon pattern. And this was at Alex Cooper's sale in Townsend, Maryland. Just closed a few days ago. It closed on Saturday, I think last Saturday. And I had bookmarked this to make sure it got on the newsletter, and I hope one of you chase it down in the global pages. This was an interesting piece of porcelain. Clearly, total Kakyeamon pattern piece, but done in China, and done in the 18th century. It just absolutely great, and it was big. It wasn't a small thing. This looks like a 5 or 6 inch jar by the shape. If you look at a lot of porcelain, this is sort of a shape you associate with smaller pieces. This jar was 10 inches tall, which is pretty good size for this pattern and that quality. And there's a picture of the bottom of it. Looks good. Looks really good. It's not Japanese, because I bet some people were wondering if it was Japanese because it looked so Kakyeamon, and that's a Chinese bottom, and it's an 18th century Chinese bottom. And they date it to Yongchen period, and they could well be right on that. And it ended up selling for $3,500 plus premium, so around $4,700 all done. But a very unusual and I think rare example. I think that was a great thing. I think we showed it on the front page of the website for a week or so when it first came up, and maybe some of you caught it and decided to go after it. I hope you did. because it was a nice thing. And then the last thing was this. It was a perfectly good 18th century, circa 1770. This was Alex Cooper again. Very good condition punch bowl, 10 inches in diameter. When it was estimated at 700 to 900, which I thought was okay, and sort of boldly decorated, but nicely decorated. It's got a well-done interior. That looks good. It's pretty elegant, nicely spaced. And somebody picked it up for $350 plus premium. That was a great buy. That was a really, really good buy. All right, and then hopping over to the weekly eBay results, we're going to take a little waltz through here. This is something that didn't sell, and I wanted to point it out to people. Guest and Gray are really good dealers. They're well known. They're in London. They sell fabulous things, and they do sell things on eBay once in a while. And it's still active, and it'll be in this week's newsletter page over on Bidamount. Is this very nice pair of Qianlong period famille rose dishes, and it's a pair, which makes them very, very nice. And these are nicely done. These are nicely done. And if Guest and Gray is selling them, I suspect they're going to be probably in pretty good shape too. But check it. Some wear to the enamels consistent with age. That's about it. They want $488 for the pair. All right, that's not bad. $250 a plate. That's a pretty good deal. And I think they're very nice people to deal with, from what I've heard. I think we've had some interactions with them over something. I can't remember what it was. We did something with them. Didn't come away with a negative impression, so they're nice people. Let's see here. And then over to this page, the silver box. This is the silver biscuit box, or a little tin. It's not tin, it's silver. But it had this very nice relief work. The way the flowers were done, it's sort of like a matte finish ground, almost like it was stippled, but it wasn't. It was just sort of a matte finish, and then high relief with the trees, the peonies, the plum blossoms coming off the tree and polished. It's a good, nice, very attractive contrast in colors. And there's the mark on the bottom, and you all know about the page over on Bidamount in the book section where all the silver marks are. So you can always go check and look them up over there. All right, so there it is. That was a nice box. $401. Not bad at all. And this was I don't know. This guy, he had a terrible week on eBay. He had some nice things. They went for nothing, and I don't understand it. This was a good pair of first half of the 18th century cups, beaker wine cups, famille rose decorated, very nicely done. They look like they're in great shape, and it's a pair. And the power of a pair is big. And somebody picked up both of them for $101. So $50 a cup. That was a heck of a buy. It was a heck of a buy. This is Stanmore House Antiques, and he gets good things. He has a good sources out there. He's in the UK. He gets good things. And this was another thing that he had that absolutely dumbfounded me. He had two of these here. One of them maybe was absolutely perfect, and it went for just $150. And this one has just a hairline in it. And this is a really unusual pattern. Those of you that buy famille rose, export wares, 18th century stuff, Young Chen, early Qianlong stuff, are looking at this going, boy, that's a rare pattern. It is a rare pattern. And maybe because it's an unusual pattern, people were afraid of it. I don't know. Doesn't make any sense to me. There's about a 9-inch dish, I guess. And I love this light blue that ran around it, and these reds, nice, thick, very vibrant enamels. $75. That was a heck of a deal, and shipping is reasonable. 28 pounds in shipping from the UK to here. Can't think of anything that's wrong. Condition plate is very good. There's a small area of enamel loss to one of the flowers and one hairline. No restoration, right? No cracks, chips, or restoration. Yeah, 25. There's the measurements. 23 centimeters, so it's about 9.5 inches wide. That was a nice plate if you're a pattern buyer and you're looking for unusual patterns. This was it. That was a very unusual pattern. Really, really pretty. And then, this is the other one. This is the one that sold for $150, which is still inexpensive. $128. Still inexpensive. If this plate had brought $700, I would have said, yeah, it's a rare pattern. I can see it. Who knew? All right, and then over here to this, the Kangxi dish. This is a well-known pattern. Many of you have seen it before. They had some nice pictures of it. There's the back of it. There's the edge of it. Looked good all the way around. And let's see, I think it was about 10 inches in diameter or something like that. Let me check. 28 centimeters. Yeah, just a little under 10 inches. Went for $565, which is just about right. Every time we see this particular pattern, they sell for somewhere between $500 and $750. Sort of, or they range. And it depends a little bit on the condition, on the enameling and all that stuff. But this was a nice dish. That was a nice looking dish. And this was from www.antiquesands.com, whoever that is. Oh, they're in Germany. Okay. All right. Never heard of them. And then over to this, the Chinese Famille Rose second half of the 19th century dish. Nicely done. I just thought it was pretty. It's like a little painting. A very white background, which is sort of unusual. Usually they add some color to the ground. And some of you are looking at it saying, what's the story there? Well, it's because they didn't add any color or skin tones to the ground like they do sometimes on these. They left it completely white, which is unusual. And I like unusual. And there's the foot rim with that little bit of kiln grit around it. So it's, yeah, second half of the 19th century. Nice looking border on it. And $152. And it was an 8.5 inch dish, basically. 8.6 inches, to be fair. All right. And then there's a few things coming up that are going to be on the newsletter this week. That are going to be in there. One of them is this vase, nice looking peony blossom vase. It looks to be 18th century from what I'm seeing. It's been drilled, so if you're looking for a fantastic table lamp, this is it. Never underestimate the value of a great table lamp in your house. I have a lot of people buy vases made into lamps, and they were going to delamp it. I said, why are you going to delamp it? It's a great way to display the vase, and it's going to be safe, and it's serving a purpose. Perching vases around your house with nothing in them is sort of sad. Put things in them, put flowers in them, or if they're made into a lamp, keep them as a lamp and use them as lamps. You'll enjoy them more, my opinion. And then this, the similarly shaped piece of 19th century cloisonne, nice one. It's up to $600. Like the little stripy deer on here, but this is a perfectly good looking piece of cloisonne. The bottom of it, get it up here. Let's see here. One more. There we go. Second half of the 19th century, I suspect, judging by the way the foot looks, that flat foot and the bit of wear. Yeah, there it is. Second half of the 19th century, but a nice piece of cloisonne all the way around. It's 15 inches tall, so it should bring $1,500 or so, maybe a bit more, but nicely done. It should clean up nicely, and it'll look great. And then this is, if those of you that buy paintings, pay attention to this. This is fantastic. This is from Great Lakes Antiquing. We've had his stuff on here before. He gets very nice things. And this is a super 19th century Chinese export painting. It almost looks like a photograph. The quality is superb. And I mean absolutely superb, stupendous, great. Circa, 1800 to 1810, possibly 18th century even. But the boy before him with the blue and white bowl, all looks good. The beautiful colors. Look at the detail on the screen behind. Look at this. It's absolutely. This is the best of Chinese workshop export paintings. Really is. And I'm gonna wager that it was done by one of the major studios in Canton. One of the really important studios did this. This wasn't knocked out by some schlock Chinese port artist. This was fabulously well done by a very skilled painter. And if you're looking for something really, really good in export art, be willing to pay $3,000 or $4,000 for this or more. This is a great painting. Great painting. It's got 3 days to go. It closes Monday. It'll be on the newsletter page this week. I don't know what else to tell you. If you've been looking for a painting you'll never get sick of, that's a nice painting. And how big is it? I don't even care how big it is. I just love the painting. Let's see here. Dimensions. Oh, it's big. He's 14 by 19 inches, painting only. That's a. It came from Roger Cavern Limited, and it was sold at Bonham's. Okay, that's expected. You all remember who Roger Cavern was? One of the great dealers. Big though, 15 by 20 inches. This is a big painting, nice size, and vibrantly painted. So go after it, okay? If this is, I think, probably the nicest Chinese painting we've seen on here in 6 months. All right, so buy this. One of you, please buy it. All right, I'll put it on the newsletter page. All right, and those of you that don't, if you're not watching and you don't know what I'm talking about, newsletter page, if you come over to bidamount.com and you click here, every week we go through eBay and we pluck out things that look good to us that are for sale over there. And if you want to get notified when we add things to the page each week on Friday, we send out a quick email to everybody saying the page has been updated with the most recent stuff. You can sign up here for it, and it has the weekly videos linked in here, and last week we put the shorts on there and so forth. And we do go through eBay every week and sort of handpick stuff that we find. And we also have often, here's a sample of some of the stuff that's on the global pages. If you're thinking of joining, there's a sampling of some of the stuff that's on here. I think this is going to be changed because all these lots, or many of these lots, have closed in the last week. I think this is some of the Druid sale. Yeah, it looks like that. Anyway, it's just a sample. It's like a small percentage of everything that we have over there. All right, so there we are. All right, listen, have a great rest of your, what else? Was there anything else? I think that was it. Oh, no. There's a couple more things. Hold on. Okay, that's the painting, right? There it is. The last thing he has, this is the same guy. He's got this, and this is a nifty thing, and it's going to go for very reasonable money. I'm not so sure it's Kangxi, but it's a little copper pot with relief work, maybe silver deer on it. Just charming, or is it copper? I can't tell from it. I just love the look of it. And it has no bottom. The bottom's been knocked out of it, so it's going to go for nothing. But if you like a nice visual object and you don't have a fortune to spend, but you're interested in getting something for yourself, this is a nice thing. This is the real deal. It's got a couple of, it's not perfect, but it certainly looks to be early 19th century, possibly older. And I think it's very unusual. Those of you who buy brush pots and things like that, this was probably a small brush pot originally, and somebody knocked the bottom out of it. It happens a lot with metal ones, but very, very nice. I have an ivory one about this size that has no bottom in it either. But it's articulated, and I don't know what happened. Somebody banged it a long time before I got it. But that's a nice pot. That's a nice pot. So if you're looking for something reasonable for yourself, that's something to buy. It's only at $6.50. It closes Monday. I don't think it will break $100. I'd be surprised if it broke $100, but it's a nice thing nonetheless. The money's got nothing to do with it. Okay, so that's it. Thanks for watching. Subscribe if you haven't so far. I hope you enjoy them. Everybody have a great weekend. All right. Thanks to all of our global page subscribers. You're very appreciated. And we're going to be looking for some new auctions to add on there tomorrow morning. So have a look. We'll get the page updated. We updated it yesterday. We're going to update it again tomorrow. And thanks so much. Bye-bye.